Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolutely fascinating new study on how specific types of live events can actually cure our modern loneliness. This is incredible research straight out of the journal Social, Psychological, and Personality Science, and we're going to break down exactly what the data tells us about building real, tangible connections in our daily lives.
You know that feeling, right? It's a question so many of us ask. You go out hoping to connect, only to return home feeling just as isolated. We've all been there. You attend some big gathering, you're surrounded by literally hundreds of people, yet somehow you feel completely disconnected from everyone around you.
Okay, let's just look at the numbers for a second. A staggering 60% of US adults report feeling lonely. 60%! It's a massive crisis, and it was severely accelerated when the pandemic basically stripped away our daily public gatherings. We lost all those everyday opportunities to interact with our wider community, the concerts, the fitness classes, the local street festivals, and that loss really highlighted just how absolutely crucial these events are to our social fabric.
So, here is the roadmap for this explainer. First, the modern loneliness epidemic. Second, the Eventbrite experiment. Third, the connection formula. Fourth, the next day hangover. And finally, fostering lasting connections. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The modern loneliness epidemic. We really need to start with the sheer scale of the problem we're facing today. This isn't just some minor cultural shift. The U.S. Surgeon General has officially labeled loneliness a modern behavioral epidemic. They recognize that our innate primate need to belong is fundamentally going unmet. We are biologically wired to need meaningful interaction. Lacking it doesn't just make us feel sad, it actively damages our physical and psychological health.
Section 2. The Eventbrite experiment. To find a real-world solution to this epidemic, researchers from the University of Georgia and Brigham Young University launched a massive high-tech quest.
They wanted to see if everyday live events could be the cure, so they surveyed over 1,500 Eventbrite users. They captured data right before and then exactly 24 hours after an event to see what actually impacted their socio-emotional state. They weren't just asking people how they felt in general. They tracked them longitudinally around specific events, everything from huge concerts to virtual seminars, to capture their immediate and next-day emotional realities.
Now, what makes this study so robust is the methodology. They use machine learning and linear regression. What that basically means is they used AI to sift through a massive web of data to find the most important factors, and then use traditional stats to see if those factors had a positive or negative impact. By doing this, they could successfully isolate the event's design from the attendees' baseline personality. This is huge because it proves it wasn't just naturally extroverted or happy people feeling connected. The actual characteristics of the event were driving the connection, regardless of who was attending.
Section 3. The connection formula. So, what actually creates that feeling of connection?
When we look at the data, see that red dot all the way out on the right for active versus passive? It literally shoots way past everything else. This proves that active participation beats out almost all of your innate personality traits, which are those blue dots like extroversion or subjective happiness, when it comes to feeling connected at an event.
The data is crystal clear. If you want to feel connected, you need to put down your phone and actively participate rather than just passively listening or observing. Engaging in novel, arousing activities where you're actually encouraged to interact with others is hands down the single strongest predictor of feeling socially connected.
The study also found a stark contrast when it comes to how we attend. Virtual events just don't cut it the same way. The lack of nonverbal cues and reduced interactivity in virtual settings makes in-person events vastly superior for generating a sense of belonging. Researchers point to the cues filtered out theory. Basically, when we're stuck behind a screen, we lose the subtle body language and eye contact our brains desperately need to build trust.
And it turns out, who you go with is a total game changer. The data reveals our adaptive motivation to share experiences, proving that bringing a friend, a partner, or a family member is a much stronger path to feeling connected than flying solo. Even if you're interacting with complete strangers at the event, having a shared base of connection with someone you know just amplifies the overall social benefit of the whole experience.
Finally, consistency is key. Repeated exposure builds trust over time, meaning a weekly fitness class or a monthly book club will yield a much higher connection than a one-off concert. In psychology, they call this the mere exposure effect. The more frequently we interact with the same people in the exact same environment, the closer and safer we feel.
Section 4. The next day hangover. Just when we think we have the perfect formula, the study drops a fascinating complication. because human emotions aren't just a simple input-output equation, right? Look at this table. The regression data reveals a shocking dual effect. This is wild. Outdoor and virtual events actually led to increased feelings of connection 24 hours later. But shockingly, they also triggered higher levels of depression, social anxiety, and loneliness that very next day.
Researchers call this the connection hangover. It occurs because the connection felt during those specific events is temporary, leaving attendees with unmet social needs the very next day. It's literally like a sugar crash for your social battery. You get this quick hit of interaction, but when it fades, the stark contrast makes your baseline loneliness feel even more acute.
Section 5. Fostering lasting connections. So how do we use this knowledge to avoid the hangover?
How do we build lasting emotional well-being? Well, here is the data-backed playbook for community organizers and attendees alike. Design active, interactive experiences. Prioritize in-person physical gatherings. Bring a friend or family member. And most importantly, create recurring, scheduled community events.
As the study concludes, a single event might not cure loneliness forever, but consistently showing up to the right kind of events gradually builds a lasting sense of connectedness. It's about taking small steps persistently. Think about it. A single trip to the gym doesn't make you physically fit, right? Well, a single social event doesn't make you perfectly connected either. It's a practice.
Armed with this incredible connection formula straight from the data, the only question left is, how will you apply this to your own life today? What recurring, active, in-person event are you going to commit to this week to start building your own sense of community? Thanks for exploring this explainer with me, and I challenge you to put down your phone, step out your door, and really participate.